Hello, everybody. Welcome to my bi-weekly show, The Path to Being 50 and Free. We are here every first and third Friday at 3 p.m. EST time. My name is Theimer, and I am your podcast host. And if you're listening to this today or watching this, then I know you're in search of something new. You're looking for some kind of change in your life. And so many times I hear people saying, oh, life is too busy. I can't make a change. I can't do this. I have to look after the family, all that kind of stuff, right? Well, let me tell you, you don't actually have to do this path by yourself. Life is always going to throw you challenges, but we always have a choice, right? And that's today's topic. And I'm actually going to introduce to you, and I'm so excited, Diane, to have you here, Diane McClay. She is my guest today. And let me just tell you a little bit about her. She is a certified whole person coach, generous optimist, and promotes positive change through deliberate choice and active courage. She is an author, a writer, a founder member of the Cornelia Stephanie Media Group, and fellow podcaster on Transformational Talk Radio. Diane lives in the Pacific Northwest and uses nature, dogs, and adventure sports for inspiration, creativity, and play. So I am so excited to have you here, Diane. So please, the mic is yours, my friend.
Well, thank you for having me in. Congratulations. I think this is your third show on Transformation Talk, fourth show on Transformation Talk Radio. So you're an old pro at this. Welcome to the Cornelia Stephanie Media Group family and Transformation Talk Radio. In your introduction, I heard 4 things, and I just want to call them out real quick. Claim your life, make a decision. We always have a choice, and you're in search of something new. And that's what I'm all about is, trying to create positive shifting, positive change in your life. The 2 words on my wall behind me that are super important to me are choice and courage. I can tell you a little bit about how this came to be if you'd like, but really, I think this is an amazing topic because I don't think people feel like they have as much choice or as much power to make their own choices as they really actually do. Do you agree with that?
Oh, I totally agree with that. Absolutely, hands down.
So tell me a little bit, how do you see being over 50 connecting to the topic of choice? What do you know now after 50? And then I'll answer that question too. Like, how does choice play into your world?
Well, life did throw me a curveball at 50, and I have learned so much in my 50s. And we always have a choice. I think it's just learning as we go, right? And like you said, like we were talking about, challenges show up in life. Do you want to go left or right? Right. And sit with a choice that is for you, that is right for you, and don't always listen to other people. So, yeah.
I don't know about you, but I noticed that when I work with some of my clients, they're kind of stuck between going left or right. They don't know if left is the right decision. They don't know if right is the wrong decision. They don't know if it's good or bad. And I find that a lot of people that I run into really kind of get stuck. So for me, one of the things I try to work with my clients on is that no choice is finite, right? If you choose to get a divorce, yes, that's long lasting, but down the road, if 2 people wanted to reconcile and start dating again, they can undo a divorce, right? Yeah. So one of the things I try to help people understand is that sometimes just making a choice is the only thing that has to happen, because as soon as you make a choice, you're going to get information about whether it feels good or is in alignment or keeps you in balance, or it's like, whoa, can't believe I just did that, right? And I want to remind people that with choice, we have the ability to backtrack if it's not serving us.
Yeah, absolutely. And, and it's okay to make a mistake. Lord knows I've made enough mistakes, but, and you're going to keep learning that same mistake and until you go, okay, maybe this isn't for me. Right. And that's okay. It's part of this life is a journey.
And well, I'd be willing to bet that you don't make the exact same mistake twice. right? You might make something similar, but once you make a mistake, you learn from it. And then the next time you make a decision or a choice, it might be a similar mistake, or it might look or feel similar, but it's not going to be exactly the same thing.
This is true. This is true. Fair enough. This is true. And what about you? So you're like, how has life changed you you are in your 50s? Yes, in your 50s.
Yeah, well, prior to being 50, so my short story is that I wanted to be a park ranger ever since I was in first grade. Managed to go to college, got a degree in it, moved out to the Pacific Northwest for 23 years, literally one job. When that job finished, another job opened. I moved into management of the agency that I was working for. What I know now is that wasn't a good fit for me. I mean, I think I'm a strong leader, but being in a high level position where you're kind of always responding to someone else's expectations or someone else's rules was a little bit difficult for me. I made some, I won't say they're bad choices. I made some decisions that didn't serve me or the agency well, and they weren't, criminal or felonious or anything. They were bad decisions at the time, even though the intent was good. And the agency said, hey, we're not really sure we trust your decision-making ability. We'd like you to have a job with lesser responsibility. That job was 6 hours away from my home and my family. And that's the place where I use choice and courage to say, you know what, thank you. I don't have to stay with this agency for the next 15 years to get my retirement. I need autonomy. I need creativity. I need to be in my own space. I need to not work in this type of an environment. And I realized I was the only person who could look out for me, and I was the only person who could make me happy. So in that moment, literally choice was the light switch for me. And it's what became my platform for coaching, is I realized I had all the choice in the world about where I was going to go and how I was going to get there. So that was I expected I would retire with this agency. I would be a lifer. And when your identity gets, I'm going to say taken from you, but what I now know is it's never been taken from me. I still have my identity, but I had to shift the value of community, identity, responsibility, role, the title that I had. None of those things were taken from me. I just have different tools now to reframe them and put them out in the world differently. Does that make sense?
Yep, absolutely. Absolutely. So how do you not worry about what other people say?
Oh, right? I did.
Yeah. But how did you navigate through that? And how did you, what's the word I'm thinking of? How did you get to a point where it's like, you know what, I'm doing what's right for me, and I don't care what anybody else says, to some degree, right?
The way in which I left the agency was very painful. It was very stressful, very anxious driven. It was a fight for my life at the time. That's what it felt like. And it didn't matter how hard I tried. It didn't matter what I said. It didn't matter what I promised. It didn't matter what I told them I would change about me. The agency already had their mind made up. Right. And what I realized is that there was a point, and I can't tell you exactly the steps that I got to, but it was like, well, I'm putting everything I have into making this thing work, and it's not working. Mm-hmm. Right. So there was a little thing inside. It's like, the definition of insanity is doing the same thing over and over again and expecting different results. Thank you, Albert Einstein. Right. And so I think I just got to the point where it's like, something has to change, and I'm the only one who could do it. The book behind me is Dreaming Book, Being Big, Being Bold, and I'm a contributing author to it. And one of the things I wrote in my chapter was that you have to find the courage to navigate your life by choice, not by circumstance. You will not know where your journey will end when you opt for change, but trust your instincts when it says you cannot stay where you are. And I think knowing that I couldn't stay where I was is what gave me the motivation to go someplace else. Does that make sense the way I'm saying it?
Yeah, absolutely.
I didn't know where I was going to end up. I didn't know what people were going to think, but I knew that I couldn't stay where I was. It was killing me, right? It was consuming my soul, my energy, my spirit, my drive. And it was like, okay, if I don't want my soul to be sucked out of me, I have to do something different, go someplace different, think differently. I saw a counselor. I had a great family network support system. Honestly, making friends with shame and guilt, like Brene Brown talks about,
Yeah.
and not giving them as much vote at the table. That was a big journey for me. And then my partner said 5 things to me. I love you. Whatever you want to do is fine with me. We'll figure it out. Everything's going to be okay. And it is what it is.
That's
right.
amazing.
So to have that kind of somebody in your life who is just willing to go with you on the journey, regardless of where it takes you, was pretty significant for me.
That's very cool. That's very cool. And it's funny how like you're listening to yourself, even though you don't know where you're going. Right. And all my life, I've never listened to my family, right? They tried to control me, but that didn't go over very well. But anyway, I've always made my own decisions, not really understanding about, the soul, the spirit, or listening to your gut instincts. Maybe I did understand and just didn't know what it was, right? And I remember when I I've had cancer in the past, and I can honestly say 12 years, I'm a cancer thriver, and
Nice.
and I'm excited. So, but and everybody, and I'm not making any health claims. I'm not telling anybody what to do. I am not a doctor, but I chose not to go the traditional route because for me, there was just something in my gut that said, don't do this. Don't do this. This isn't the right thing. And I listened, right? Which was interesting for me, right? Even though everybody was giving me a hard time about what I was doing. And, but that was a choice I made. And I'm so grateful I did, right? Because now as I'm starting to learn how the mind, body, spirit works, now I understand that. But even like when I turned 50, I felt like, is this the way my life is going? Like, is this all there is to life? And I thought, okay, this is how the first part of my life looked like. How do I want to live the second? Right. And for me, I was like, unfortunately, I didn't see my husband in my future, and I'm grateful him and I are friends still. So I'm happy for that.
Right.
But I just knew I needed to go on a journey. And it's, you just have to really learn to listen to yourself, and whatever happens, right?
Right. And I agree with that. And I think let's really focus on that. Like, how many of us actually pause and stop and listen? Right. We all, women especially, and especially as we're older, we think we're invincible at 20. We start to get knowledgeable at 30. At 40, we're starting to be established in our families, our careers, and our communities. But I think at 50, something changes. We start to realize we don't know how much time is left. We want to make sure that we have an impact in our life. We want to make sure that the impact that we're creating is serving our own personal journey as well as someone else's. So the first thing I would really encourage all of our listeners to do is, like, are you creating white space around yourself? Have you taken time to stop and listen to what that voice is saying? Right. And then the next thing is once you stop and notice that there's a voice, what is it saying? And then the next thing I think I would say is that once you know it's there, that's called awareness, right? Your power goes up as soon as you make awareness for yourself. For me, what I coach on is once you have awareness, then you can create options. Do I like what the voice is saying? Yes or no. Is the voice loud enough that I can't ignore it? Yes or no. And that's kind of using little small choices to move ourselves into a bigger choice. But 2 questions I love to ask are what if and why not? What if my voice has something really important to say? And why not follow it? Or what if my voice knows more than my head? What if my heart knows more than my head? So what if and why not? And I think when our listeners start making white space, hearing the voice, giving the voice a name, like, hello, younger self, I appreciate you being here, or hello, wiser, older woman, I appreciate you being here. Then once we know that it's there, we can start tuning in, and then we can start using that as, is this voice guiding me towards something that's helpful, or is this voice guiding me towards something that's not? Right. Yeah. I mean, if there's a pile of chocolate chip cookies around, my voice definitely guides me towards having as many of those as I can.
Right.
Right. That's not necessarily bad. It's just, hey, I got to probably put some boundaries on that.
Yeah.
So that's kind of my take on it, is create the space, listen to the voice, name the voice, and then ask what if, why not? How does that fit in with what you know on your journey?
I love it. I love it. Yeah, it is yeah. And it starts with, like, I know when I coach people that it starts with, yeah, let's just teach people a little bit of awareness, right? And yeah, like it definitely fits in with what you're saying, because we can't change unless we're aware of something. And I always teach people, start off with, like, I'm all about simplicity, right? I like things to be simple. I don't want to do anything that's complicated and have 500 things to do in a day. But I teach people, when you wake up in the morning, how are you feeling? Right? Are you in a good mood, a bad mood, whatever kind of mood? Are you still stewing about yesterday or 6 months ago? I just finished listening to Dr. Joe Dispenza. So that's why I'm kind of like, right, are we complaining about things from 6 months ago or 8 years ago or whatever? But how are you feeling this morning? And did you know that you can actually change that mood you're in, right? Put on some music, listen to a podcast like this one, or whatever, go for a walk, hug a tree, whatever it is you need to do, right? But just shift that energy into
Right.
getting it out of it. And then check in, because as you know, we have how many thoughts in a day? Like 60,000 thoughts in a day or something like that, so check in again, maybe at lunchtime. Hey, Karen, where are you at? Hey, Diane, where are you at? Whatever, right? Are you in a good mood, bad mood? Where are you going? And then just shift that,
Right.
right? Maybe check in 3 times a day.
And check in 3 times a day. I love that. When I picked up kind of what I thought was going to be, a summer job after I left my agency, I picked up a summer job, and there was somebody there I just didn't really get along with, right? And I found myself walking through the aisle of this particular location, and I was getting grumpy and I was irritated, and a friend of mine said, "Hey, have you thought about putting like a mindfulness bell on your phone?" I was like, mindfulness bell, what is that? And there's apps out there all the time, right? So, and I'm not a big app person on the phone. I don't like having it dominate my life. But what I realized is this angry energy, this upset energy, any of the stuff that I didn't resolve yet from the wound of leaving my old job was still coming into my body.
Mm.
And so when somebody said, have you ever tried an app? I'm like, I don't know. So there it is. What if and why not? What if there's an app that could remind me? So it's just a chime. It's just a bell. You can set your alarm for it. But I set it for every hour. And I just heard this little soft, Chinese gong. And in that moment, I remembered to breathe and check in. And I was like, hey, am I feeling grumpy or angry today? Yeah, I kind of am. So then I was able to say, how can I shift that? Do I want to stay in this grumpy, angry state? Because if I do, I probably should take the rest of the day off, right? Because I'm not going to serve my customers well.
Yeah.
So one, a mindful bell, some sort of an app that can remind people to check in. That's definitely something that is helpful. But then you remind me that in that moment, we have a choice. Do I like how I'm feeling? If so, what can I choose to keep going forward? And courage comes in. If you're not sure that you like how you're feeling or you're not sure where to go, it takes courage to actually dig in a little bit deeper and really affect that change or look at what's underneath that.
Yeah. Yeah. And it's funny that you're bringing up like that, because well, since I've now started doing the podcast, like I get super nervous before, and about an hour before, and I realized that today, that it's like just like I'm kind of sensitive with that. And it just takes something little to set me off. Right. And it's like, okay, so like something set me off earlier today, and I'm just like, "Ma." And then I was going, okay, Karen, this isn't how I want to show up for my podcast today, right? Let's shift that energy. So I went for a walk and go, okay, Karen, what is this anger about? And it had nothing to do with me, actually. It had to do with the other person. But I'm just like, nah, you know what? This isn't how I want to feel today. I'm in a really good mood. I'm not going to let one little thing change me, like change my energy for the day or change my mood. And plus being on the podcast, I'm like going, you can't be on a podcast and be miserable, right? So,
well, you can, but you might draw the wrong kind of crowd in. Can I say two things here? Like, I think this is the power of being 50 and free, right? When we're 20, we recognize that anger and we deserve to be angry. We're going to work through it, right? Someone wronged me. And when we're 30, we're like, oh, well, I'm still angry, but I can't really carry that into the meeting that I'm going to go into next. And when we're 40, we're like, yeah, I'm kind of angry, but I have a reason, but I can kind of work through it later. But I think at 50, and tell me if I'm wrong here, but I think at 50, there's a freedom that comes with letting it go, right?
Yeah.
Do I want to be angry and bitter when I die? I absolutely don't.
No.
So I think something magical happens, and especially for women, when we hit late 40s and after we have a couple of years into 50, I feel like there's this bigger, larger, energetic sense of peace that invites us into changing the way we are being and that we're showing up. Would you agree or disagree with that?
Oh, I totally agree. I totally agree. And I don't even, yeah, like it's just, yeah, something just shifts. And which is your podcast.
Right? That's coming up next.
That's coming up next. So everybody has to stay tuned for that one. But yeah, something just shifts. And you know, I look back now and I honestly, I mean, I guess I would probably have to journal it out, just, you know, where I felt these different things and what helped me shift. And yeah.
Well,
Yeah.
and I think the other part is for people who haven't gotten to 50 yet, or for people who are still navigating a life challenge, like there's the title of my chapter in my book is The Other Side, right?
Mm.
You're going to get to the other side of whatever this thing is. It's just going to take time. It may not be pretty. It's going to take work on your part and maybe somebody else's part, but there is always another side. There was always another perspective. There was always another place to be.
Yeah.
And again, I think at 50, I think we have the ability to see that. One of my favorite quotes is by Steve Jobs, and he talks about you cannot connect the dots looking forwards. You can only connect them looking backwards, right? So I can stand at 50 and go back and say, what led me to this place in my life? But at 50, I can say, well, I kind of want to get over there, but I'm not going to know exactly how I get there. But what I know now at 50 is I trust that I'm going to get there, and the route that I'm going to take is what's going to serve me. I absolutely trust that.
Yeah. Yeah. I love it. I love it. I love it. I love it. It's funny when I learned about the path, I call it stepping stones, because, you know, I'm one of these people, well, like most people, right? That, you know, we want everything yesterday. We want a quick fix and we want everything yesterday. And one time I was exercising, and, you know, and this is something I'm working on right now, is the stopping, like starting something and stopping it. Right. And then getting hard on myself, but I'm working through that. Right. And then all of a sudden one day I was exercising and I'm going, and it just dawned on me, it's the stepping stones. It's not the end result of being, you know, like being this fit person and it's the journey. And that's where things for me really shift. It's the journey, it's the stepping stones to get from A to B to C to whatever. And
Right.
That's the path. And that's the path to being 50 and free. Right.
Right. You know, and speaking of stepping stones, you know, you're a part of the Cornelia Stephanie Media Group. And one of the things I'm excited about is on Monday, we're going to be launching an app that people can download. And there's a lot of stepping stones. We don't have enough time right now to kind of get into all of that. We'll dig in more on the shift, but in the app, there are people there who can help you with all of the stepping stones that you're taking and wherever you're at in your life. And I'm kind of excited about being able to announce that on Monday when we bring it to life, right?
Me too. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's very exciting. It's going to be very exciting.
Yeah.
So
No, just go ahead. We got a couple minutes left. So
okay. Yeah. So how, you know, what does freedom mean to you? How can people get a hold of you as well?
freedom to me means literally not giving a shit what other people think. Right. And sorry for my language, but it's like you just have to do what's right for you. And of course, if you have a family or a spouse, you have to incorporate them. People can find me at dianemcclay.com. They can get us on the Cornelia Stephanie Media app. This is your show. I'll let you close it out.
Amazing. Thank you so much, Diane. I always love chatting with you, and I love your energy, and I can't wait to actually meet you one day in person. You know, if you're following this, you can also find me at 50 and free, spell out that 50 and free.ca. My new website is coming out, and stay tuned. I also have a weekly Freedom Fridays coming up, just in the process of being launched very soon. Follow me on Instagram and you'll be able to find out more about it. So
excellent.
Any last words, my friend?
This book, Dreaming Big, Being Bold, has 24 stories of trailblazers, visionaries, and change makers, and they've all gone through a life-altering change. If people want to get a copy of it, I've got a few extra around. Email Karen, email Big and Bold, Dreaming Big, Being Bold, and I'll make sure Karen gets you a free copy. That's what I got.
Beautiful. Thank you so much. Always a pleasure to chat with you.
Thank you.
And it's Friday and it's the weekend.
All right, don't go away. Stay tuned for the shift, which is coming up next. And we're going to talk about Mercury retrograde.
Oh, amazing, amazing. Yes, stay tuned for that, for the shift. I'm excited to actually to listen to you guys.
Awesome. Thanks, Karen. I had a great time.
Thanks, me too.
All right, 50 and free.
50 and free. Take care.
Yep, bye-bye.